right, we are up. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the
Yo,
late
yo,
night, the late night show. Um,
face mask after hours.
right, this is Face Mask After Dark. Um, for anybody who is hanging out with us, thanks for hanging out in the late night. This will most likely be recorded for most of you, but we figured we'd go live just in case there's anybody who is up. Uh, it's not quite the wee hours yet, but it is getting later on the East Coast in Central Time, so could be a recorded playback for you guys. But as promised, we have a rookie mock draft that we're gonna walk through tonight. Uh, we're in that week between the NFL draft and what I would imagine it becomes a busier time now for dynasty rookie drafts. You have most dynasty leagues, I would think, follow a similar blueprint to the NFL and draft sooner than later. So here we are.
Yeah, these drafts are like Nick said, they're usually, and in my opinion, best done as soon as possible, right after the NFL draft, because you're working off of your information that you prepared, all your research going into the draft, that you were getting on these college players, watching tape, watching film, measurables, combine, and then you got to make a decision and take who you think is going to be the best fit for your team. So you're not getting the off season to see where they fall on the depth chart, how they look at training camp. It really, makes the rewards the people, the fantasy owners that are doing that due diligence and paying attention during those, off season months, dynasty season, as we call it, from, February till April, May.
Yeah, no, this is what it's about, right? I mean, it's not about where the landing spots are. It's knowing who the guys are before the landing spots take place to begin with, right? And so, with that in mind, we want to do what we can to help you guys out who have their rookie drafts sooner than later, which in my mind is how it should be. Barring an unforeseen circumstance, if you need to push your draft back because of something that, whatever, some real world development, then so be it. But these drafts should be happening shortly after the NFL draft. If for me, if it truly mirrors what Dynasty is all about. So, with that, probably makes sense now to just go ahead and kick this thing off. I did randomize this, so we only got a couple people in here now. Will and I, of course, are here, and then Crumply Heads. Thanks for joining us, man. You're in here as well. 12-team rookie draft. It looks like it's all the way down to like 15 rounds. So I'm gonna pause it after 4. That feels like a good solid default of where you can kind of call the rookie draft. But for anybody who might be, checking this sort of thing out for the first time, 4 rounds, linear, matches what the NFL does. So it's not a snake draft like in redraft. And we're talking just rookies. What we will do for the purpose of any computer, for any computer that hang on, let me grab my earbuds. For anything that, or excuse me, for any computer spot, we can auto plug in a player of any kind. So what we can do is kind of give a bit of a breakdown, give some analysis about what we think we would do if that was us in that scenario, and so you're not necessarily getting just like a default random AI pick, so to speak.
Hey Nick, we got a late entrant into the draft coming in here. AG
Okay,
is going to draft with us.
awesome. And I'm gonna see if I can.
I just shot him the link, so he should
Okay,
be in momentarily.
let me see if I can get the link into. I'm gonna copy the invite link, and then real quick, I'll just drop it into the chat of the YouTube of the live stream. So if anybody's able to join us real quickly, um, by all means, you are welcome to. We can obviously give it a second or two for folks to join. Hopefully my audio's okay. Apparently there might be a bit of an echo. Um, Same settings from draft night, so I thought we would be all right, but hopefully that's not a problem.
Trying to see. You didn't start it yet, right? So we
No,
shouldn't
didn't
be.
start it.
People should be able to claim positions
Yeah,
still.
you should be able to claim a spot.
Yeah. So if you guys are joining in, go ahead and claim any spot, and then Nick will just hit randomize again, and we'll shoot it. Roll the dice, and then what Nick and I will do, we're just we'll fill in the computer spots and draft from those positions as well, just to alternating, just to give you guys a little insight into where we have some of these guys.
Yep. So we'll give it some time. This will be a super flex draft, which I feel like is default for dynasty leagues at this point. Honestly, should be default for redraft as well, in my opinion. So this is a super flex. There's no bonuses here. There's no tight end premium. This is not a super fancy scenario here. Just a straight up rookie mock draft to give.
Are
you
we not
guys some
doing tight end
perspective on
premium?
where we're at?
So no, we're not doing premium.
So it's not tight end premium. It's not tight end premium.
Okay.
It's just gonna be Dynasty Superflex. We'll do it for 4 rounds. We have control over the computer picks as far as we can have some debate in between the picks as they come up. It'll be about 2 minutes per pick, so it won't be an extensive amount of time. It'll be enough time where I feel like we'll be able to share our thoughts, but ultimately we are on a bit of a crunch to ultimately make a selection. Mike, thanks for joining as well. Looks like he can't join he can't join. He is driving, so get home safe, Mike. But thanks for joining as always. Appreciate you. And yeah,
is this him in there?
No, that's different members. But Crumply Heads is in here hanging out with us at the 10 spot. So again, we have control of this situation from a perspective of the computers, and then of course we have our own picks. Will has the 3rd pick. I have the 6th pick. The guarantee. Thanks for joining. Has the 8th pick, and then Crumply Heads has the 10th pick. And this is linear, so there's not going to be any trades involved, anything like that. It's just a thought process from here on out from where you're picking.
Sounds good. So Mike, I see a Mike in the first spot. That's not the Mike you're talking about, right? That's why I asked.
Oh, we do have Mike in here. Oh, all right. Is he making it? He's making this happen. He's gonna.
I guess
Mike,
so.
You gonna try to join? He's gonna try to make it happen.
It looks that way. He says he joined, but he's driving home. But he's somehow in there anyway. Hey, you know what? Nick, are you against just drafting this as tight end premium anyway? Just because we got a lot of tight end talent in this draft, and I feel like it might be beneficial to talk about some of these guys.
Let me see if I can.
I don't think you need to change the setting. We'll just draft it as that.
We'll just draft with the idea. Yeah, so I can't update it like that, but
we're making all the picks anyway. Who cares what the ADP is?
So we'll operate. We can operate as if it's tight end premium. That's fine.
Let's do that.
Okay,
yeah, let's do that. I like that.
All right, let's make that happen. All right, so we will draft as if it's tight end premium. That's a general default for Dynasty at this point, anyway, and we'll go from there.
Cool. And it looks like Mike's wife is going to be drafting for him today. So, Mrs. Lopez, pleasure to have you in the room with us.
Yeah.
Let's do some. Are we gonna just go with it as is?
Yeah, let's go with as is. Looks like Anthony guaranteed moved up to the 2nd spot. I'll allow it. Gentleman's agreement. I'll allow it. That's fine. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off.
Fire away.
We'll end at 4 rounds. So at pick 412, that'll be the end of it. Yeah, let's have some fun, guys. Giddy up. The draft is starting now.
Hold on, Nick, are you going to pause it after each pick so we can kind of talk about what guys are doing here?
I should be
We didn't
able
really.
to if I say or if I hang on. Oh, I can pause at each pick. I see what you're
Yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah. Yeah, so that we can talk about like Bijan went 101.
Sure. So
Perfect.
we'll pause right here.
Okay.
This is
So
probably about the shortest
go
pause
ahead.
you'll see.
Do you want me to take this one?
Go for it.
So Bijan kind of been the darling of this draft, super flex and one quarterback. So no surprise here. I don't blame someone if they go with a quarterback, one of those top three guys that they like at the 101. But if I have the first pick in super flex, even I'm probably going Bijan. I mean, we saw Arthur Smith run Tyler Algier for over 1,000 yards, huge efficiency, like 4.9 per carry, I believe, over the season. So, like I was saying, if you guys were watching during the live stream of the actual NFL draft when the Falcons drafted Bijan, I think he's gonna really rock for that team, and he's just a safe bet. You know he's getting the work with that draft capital of a running back. You know they're going to give him those touches, and he's going to put up numbers. I mean, he's generational talent at the position, safe floor. You're not going to miss. It's as close to a can't miss prospect as you can get. So it's I don't know if there's really much that needs to be said about Bijan other than that.
Nah. I mean, the only scenario where you're passing on him, well, there's two scenarios if you're passing on him. You're staring down a super long rebuild, and you can trade that pick for 3 first-round picks, right? Or you're absolutely loaded at running back, and to your point, you could really use a young quarterback.
But you're still making the pick in the first case scenario because he's going to
Right,
have the most trade value. So yeah, you may
right.
not
So
end
you
up with
might
him
as
on
well
your
just
team,
take him.
but right, exactly.
Yeah, you might as well just take him. I agree. That's about all that needs to be said about Bijan. We can keep this
Let's
moving. The
perfect.
one
Let's see what
102
AG does here.
is on the clock, and we will resume the counter now.
Okay, okay.
I'll
Now we
pause it
got
real
some
quick.
action. Nick, what do you got to say about Anthony Richardson at 102?
It makes all the sense in the world to me. I think first of all, he's going to start week 1, right? They're going to just throw him out there right now. The only thing that he needs is experience. That's pretty much all it comes down to. The upside is through the roof, but you don't hit the upside without playing the guy. And there's no reason for the Colts to dilly-dally in this situation and play Gardner Minshew. No disrespect to Gardner Minshew, but you have your guy. You have your guy for the future, and the future is now. Anthony Richardson's upside as far as running the football is massive. Now all he needs is experience and reps as far as throwing the ball.
Yep.
I think he's got top 7 or 8 rushing upside this year. I think he's got top 10 quarterback finish for fantasy purposes as a rookie. He's got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield with him. He's got I think what's fair to say, a low-end wide receiver 1 in Michael Pittman throwing the ball. Shane Steichen comes over from the Eagles. They're probably going to be able to install a very similar, maybe not a carbon copy, but a very similar offense to the one that they ran with Jalen Hurts in Philly. Richardson is set up for success, at least from a production perspective, in as soon as year 1. I think this pick makes sense. It's what I would do.
Yeah. I just to reiterate, I mean Shane Steichen's there now, and we've seen what he did. I mean Jalen Hurts had some of the similar, athletic prowess and questions coming in as a rookie, and we see what he turned him into as the Eagles offensive coordinator the last 2 years, and before that with the Chargers as the OC for Justin Herbert's rookie year, which he broke, quarterback records for 35 touchdowns, I believe. So it's, as far as Anthony Richardson goes, I think the Colts was the perfect landing spot with that high draft capital. We're going to see that, see what Steichen is the guy that can do something with him that you got to love. And at 102, I think you just, to me, he's jumped the other 2 quarterbacks, Stroud and Young, as far as that ceiling for sure. And I think with Steichen there, I'm just a little more safe, or not safe, but a little more like sure and excited about what that offense is going to look like with him. So I really like the pick with Richardson, and honestly, Yeah, I think he's even making the Bijan at 101 a little, like, if it was 100% or 99%, maybe it's down to like 93, 92. Like, Richardson has that
Sure.
much upside where if he hits, he is a huge asset for your team.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I'm all in on the Richardson train. I've said my piece there.
Cool.
Rojo, good to see you, man. Sorry you missed it by just a small amount. I promise we had it open for a decent amount of time. We'll get you in the next one. I'm going to be hosting a couple of mocks tomorrow as well. So we can certainly get that in. This one's going to be a little bit more start and stop anyway. We're going to do a little bit of breakdown of each pick and what the thought process is there, and that includes the computer spots as well. So, there will be another opportunity to jump in tomorrow for sure. But good to see you, man, as always. I'm gonna hit resume on this guy. Will at the 103. You
Yep.
are on the clock.
Yep. And for me, it's, at this point, it's between the other two quarterbacks at 1 and 2, Stroud and Young. And I don't really have an issue going with either one. It's sort of your preference. I think that for me, I just like the pedigree that we've been talking about Bryce Young this entire time. I'm not surprised he went first overall in the draft. I'm not surprised that he, jumped Stroud or is ahead of Stroud. I mean, he was the guy that we were talking about all season long. He's been, the guy that we've been excited about, that for rookie drafts, a couple of years ago, everyone was saying get those 2023 first because he was one of the guys that you were going to be able to get. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Bryce Young at 103.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. First overall pick in the draft is going to have a significant amount of opportunity as far as a rope in this league, as far as chances in this league. You expect that it works out in Carolina. They have a lot to do from the perspective of surrounding Bryce Young with talent. Moving forward, it's a little bit of an empty cupboard right now, but now that they have their quarterback, the job seemingly gets easier here, or supposedly gets easier here. Now it's about surrounding him with the pieces that he needs to succeed in this league. That'll happen in the coming drafts, ideally next year. And now you're kind of just relying on, you're hoping that that there's some type of stability by year 2. You can't have significant expectations in year 1. With such a bare bones offense to work with, but we'll see what he can do. This is a future forward pick, but I think it's a future forward pick that makes sense. There's gonna be some teeth pulling, I would imagine, year 1, but this is a dynasty rookie draft. You're expecting those lumps at this point.
Yep. Nick, why don't you go ahead and take 104, and then that way it'll alternate around so we're not back to backing each other.
Yeah, so we can just go ahead and fill in these, from these computer picks as far as the perspective of what we would do. I mean, in Dynasty Superflex, the decision feels kind of easy here. Jahmyr Gibbs got significantly better. I mean, it's fair now to look back and by all indications, he was going to be a top 20 pick no matter what, but getting to pick 12, really significant for his future. The trade of DeAndre Swift out to Philadelphia paves the way for Gibbs to have a significant significant impact in fantasy in year 1. But we can't play the short game here, right? We got to play the long game. CJ Stroud, the second quarterback off the board in a Superflex league. This might be simplistic of me, but this is what I'm rolling off of. I saw what he did in the college football playoff semifinal against Georgia, a team with NFL caliber talent kind of littered throughout it. And he put up significant numbers, put up huge numbers. It came in a loss, but it wasn't because of Stroud's performance. That's at that point all you really need to see. When a team like Ohio State some of their competition, it's like, I'm not necessarily worried about the production that you put out in the beginning of the season. What do you do at the end of the season when you're in those big games against the best teams in the country? Stroud
Yeah.
delivered. I have no doubts on him that he's going to be successful. This is the pick I'm going with.
I can't agree with you more. For you had me on the hook there for a sec. I thought you were about to take Gibbs at 4. I was going to be shocked.
About to throw a wrench into it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to take you got to take the shot in Superflex on these quarterbacks because the quarterback landscape out there right now is just really, really rough after the first few elite guys. It really is just kind of a mess of quarterbacks that when you're talking one quarterback redraft, the reason they say draft a guy late, at least in the past, was because there was such replaceability at the position. When you get lower, you can find a guy that'll be valuable. I think that's starting to change a little bit now. I think the community's jumped into the knowledge and mindset that rushing upside really dominates, and it's a cheat code for those quarterbacks. So I think we're seeing less of that. But when it comes to super flex and especially dynasty, those guys, you're not picking guys off the waiver that you can just go find and start against a good defense. You've got to get quarterbacks that you can, roll out there for that super flex position and obviously quarterback position and get yourself those points and those advantages over your opponents week to week. So Stroud is the easy pick for me. Top 5 draft. I mean, number 2 overall draft capital. You take the shot and like you said, that Georgia game was great tape, great showing against basically the Philadelphia Eagles defense as we see it. So as an Eagles fan, I'm sure you're concerned when you guys have to play Houston.
Something like that. Something like that. Let's move on to the 105. I made the call on Stroud at 104. Where do you think you're going at 105?
I got to be honest. I think I was going to go with a JSN before this draft just happened. I think the draft capital Gibbs got and the trade up to get him tells me that Detroit has a plan for Gibbs and they really wanted him and they were so pumped to get him. They've lost Jamison Williams for the first 6 games, which I think people are a little overreacting to as far as what that means for the team. For this year, it's not great for his value, but for dynasty wise, it's not a behavioral issue. It was a technicality based on location of placing the bet. So, but Gibbs is going to get in there early and I think provide a pass catching option for Jared Goff with one of their top pass catching weapons out for the first part of the year. So give me Jahmyr Gibbs, 12th overall pick, running back. You don't see that kind of draft capital for running backs often. And when you do, it's you almost can't miss with those players. So I'm going Gibbs, despite the curse of Barry Sanders still looming large over the Detroit rushing game.
This is where I would go as well. I mean, going this high, it's clear. You don't take a player 12th overall if you don't think he's going to be a special player, right? A special playmaker. And they clearly have something in mind for Gibbs from a utilization standpoint. And the trade of DeAndre Swift out of Detroit only maximizes that potential. So that's where I would go as well. Even in full PPR, it's not unrealistic that Gibbs gets lined up as a receiver, especially in these first 6 games, but just in general throughout his career, he has that level of talent. It's an Alvin Kamara light capability that he possesses. At this point, you expect big things from Gibbs in Detroit, and it makes sense to go with him here. At 6, at the 106, I'm going to go with the other guy that you mentioned, the guy who has been the wide receiver 1 throughout pretty much the entire pre-draft process. I don't think there's been much of a debate as recently as the Combine. Smith-Njigba has, as far as I'm concerned, proven himself to be head and shoulders above the other wide receivers in this class. Others might disagree with that as far as how big the gap is, but I think this is the most talented player at the position in 2023. We saw what he did in the Rose Bowl against Utah his sophomore season, and what he did in his sophomore season in general with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson on the roster, racking up over 1,600 receiving yards as a sophomore. It's easy to forget that happened because this past season was an injury riddled one for Jackson Smith-Njigba, and it felt like for a brief time that he had fallen back to the pack. But when you factor everything in from a talent perspective, he's a fluid route runner. He's a smart player. Ohio State has been churning out wide receivers for years now. I think he's just the latest to excel in a long line of Buckeye receivers. It might not happen just yet with DK Metcalf and I guess more specifically Tyler Lockett still in the fold, but Tyler Lockett is, I believe he's on the other side of 30 at this point. Father Time is undefeated there. I love Tyler Lockett. This is coming from a Tyler Lockett fan, but obviously we know that that's not going to last forever. Smith-Njigba is a 21-year-old star in the making as far as I'm concerned. Whether it's with Geno Smith or whoever Seattle has at quarterback 3-4 years from now, I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to excel. He may never be a true alpha as long as DK Metcalf is in Seattle, but he's going to be a damn good wide receiver. I feel pretty confident with that.
Yeah, can't agree more. And Lockett and DK both being there may have some people concerned, but I think we're going to see Lockett tail off here soon. He's just a little older, so JSN can slip into that role and be a major weapon and on that offense, and really give Geno Smith that pass catching option that underneath and is reliable, like great route running. His 3-cone drill time was insane. So Jay Sanders is the number one wide receiver by a gap in my mind in this class. So I like the pick.
There you go. You want to take 107?
Yeah, why not?
On the clock, I can pause it.
So to me, this is where the draft really gets preferency, right?
This is where it starts.
I think these first 6 are probably the way most of your drafts are going to go, at least in the super flex. Yeah. So if you've got a pick beyond 106, a first round pick, and you're a contender, I'd maybe even shop the pick, because I think there's a tier break here where you're going to see, just the talent level just drop a little bit for these guys. Now, this is where I'm happy we're going against the ADP, because I'm actually not going to grab one of these wide receivers at 107. Okay. I know that they're the first round talent, but I was a little skeptical about them going into it. I don't love this receiver class. So I'm actually going to go ahead and draft Devon Achane from Miami at 107. Wow. I think I love the landing spot. He fits perfectly with the system that they have there with McDaniel's system. He's got the older running back ahead of him, and Raheem Mostert, mm-hmm. and Jeff Wilson, obviously. But both of those guys are injury prone. They're not there. They're not going to be the guy for that team forever. You get a day 2 draft capital on a talent that, even though he's a little smaller, it's not too small. I mean, 188 pounds, like, you can work with that. He's got speed out the wazoo. He's going to break and runs, the big plays. You're going to really, under McDaniel's offense, I think, see him really thrive. I love that landing spot for Achane. And, he probably wasn't my third running back going into the draft, but the guy who was, I was not a fan of where he went, and I'm sure we'll talk about him, later on. But I like Achane. I like getting the young running back. They're hard to find. The good running backs are hard to get in fantasy, especially in dynasty, as we know. So there's a guy with day 2 draft capital. Give me that guy over some wide receivers I have a few more questions about, and didn't land in what I would call a home run no doubt about it team. So a draft position or a situation. So give me A-Chain, and that's where I'm going.
There you go. Uh, I like A-Chain. He's got that straight line speed that's really exciting. But as it's kind of being pointed out in the chat a little bit, he is on the smaller side. So I understand the concerns with him as well. It is just flat out, arbitrarily in a vacuum, more difficult to succeed at a player size like A-Chain's, right? That's not foolproof. That's not a tell-all. It's just a trend that is something that is worth keeping an eye on. That being said, I do love the landing spot as well. There's not, as far as a longevity perspective, there's not a lot in A-Chain's way. Mostert and Wilson will, at some degree, keep him at bay this year. But that's probably not going to last super long. And he's got a chance to thrive in. It's not even one of the up and coming offenses anymore. Miami's offense is built to win now. So to be a part of that is truly beneficial for whichever back had ended up in this landing spot. It happens to be A-Chain. He's got the straight line speed of a Raheem Mostert, of a Jeff Wilson, and so there's a natural fit there from that perspective. So I don't hate it. It might look like a reach just based on the ADP, but this does become a bit of a hodgepodge of a draft after the first 6, and so I don't mind the chance that you're taking on A-Chain at 107.
Yeah, and let me be clear, I'm not rushing to the podium to make this pick. Like, it's not a, if one of those 6 slips out somehow and gets to 7, then I am. But like I said earlier, if I have a 107 on and I can trade that for a proven player like Deontay Johnson or
Sure.
just somebody that is still has some gas in them that somebody else may value as they want the pick. I'm making that every time because I'm taking a proven commodity over beyond 106. I have questions about all these players. I like the landing spot a lot. I like the talent going into it. So I'm gonna go with A-Chain. So
there you go.
You're up at 108, Nick.
Yeah, and I know what I'm gonna do here, and it's a little bit calculated. Same wavelength though, same thought process. I'm not sure about any of these guys in the long term. So to that point, I'm gonna take the guy who I think can have the biggest impact the soonest to maximize my opportunities with this player. And we're coming down on the final couple seconds of this pick, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it. I'm going to take at the 108 Jordan Addison, and I'm going to explain why. I think Addison has the clearest path to success and production the quickest. Adam Thielen is out in Minnesota. And KJ Osborne, who is a player that I have liked, but to this point has kind of proven to be just kind of a depth guy. This is a Vikings offense that we expect to move the ball with Kirk Cousins, move the ball with a decent amount of success, no matter whether they release Dalvin Cook or restructure him or whatever, whether it's Cook and Madison or Madison and another player. But when with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and with a clear path to playing time and opportunity in Minnesota with Thielen's departure, Addison feels like a guy that's worth a roll of the dice here, because if he does perform early, I will at least have the opportunity this season, if I feel inclined, to move him for something. To move him for something else, whether it's something else in 2024, whether it's a running back that somebody's not willing to part with right now, whether it's something that can just kind of help my team moving forward in general. Maybe it's a bit of a short-sighted pick in that regard, because why do you pick a guy just for the sake of trading him? The point here is I don't think anybody can sit here and definitively feel great about this back half of the first round. So I'm just going to pick the guy that I think that can produce now of these options, the guy who I think can produce the soonest, and then maybe maximize on the trade value. And then if he balls out, then he balls out. Spectacular, great. Now I'm just like, all right, whatever. But in a worst case scenario, you're probably still looking at a situation where it's like, okay, but he's still a starter, and you can't take that away from him. So I'm gonna go Addison here, just for the sake of maximizing what I think is a window here as far as options for the player.
Are you concerned? Okay, let me phrase this. Do you think he outscores Hawkinson this year?
No,
Because to
but I don't.
me,
No, but I don't think Hawkinson goes off the way he did prior to, or having since been acquired by the Vikings, because now, no disrespect to Adam Thielen, who has had a very good career, but it kind of looked like he was at the end last year. That's not going to be the case with a player like Addison, who was at the beginning.
okay. Yeah, no, I don't. He's definitely my wide receiver. Oh man, he's probably my I don't know. I was lower on Addison going into this than most other
Yeah,
analysts. He was my wide receiver 4 coming into the draft. He probably got the best landing spot, like you said, for immediate value, just because he's the
right,
number 2 receiver on his
right,
team, where with Flowers and Johnston presumably being the other 2 of that top 4, the first round draft capital, are both Flowers we assume behind Bateman and Odell, and Johnston behind Williams
right.
and Allen. You're going to have him as the number 2 Addison on that team. Hawkinson, however, is a better tight end and a better option than any of the tight end. Well, sorry, Mark Andrews. I almost disrespectfully just ignored him.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm concerned because I think that offense still goes through Justin Jefferson. That's how it's Kevin O'Connell, right? Is the offensive or the head coach there?
yeah, he's the coach.
Yeah. That's how he ran the Rams offense through Cooper Kupp. You just saw them very much hyper target their A receiver. So I'm not as thrilled about the landing spot as a team like identity goes, like what they're looking to do. But I do think Addison's talented. I do appreciate the immediate opportunity he's going to get with Kirk Cousins and that passing attack. I think we're going to see Dalvin Cook more likely than not be on Minnesota for this year. So that just, takes away another option on the offense, which would funnel more work you would presumably consider towards Addison, towards all the players. So I don't hate it. But this is exactly why I'm, in preference of going with running backs at this point versus some of these receivers. I just have questions, and I like I said, none of them hit home run landing spots for me.
Right. No, I understand. I understand the concern. I hope my audio's okay. Apologies if it's not. I have the same setup that I had for the draft, which I think was fine. So hopefully it's okay. But sorry if it's not. Um, anyway, Will, you're up at the 109 with about 70 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and I'm gonna shift gears here with I think this is a value grab actually at the 109, and especially a tight end premium league. I'm gonna grab Dalton Kincaid here at the 109, Bills tight
Okay.
end. This guy has been playing football for 4 years, 5 years. He's developed as a route runner every year. Huge part of that Utah offense. He looks smooth, drops his hips, runs, crisp, fluid routes. The Bills jumped Dallas. They got again from the, Dallas Goddard pick that I'm sure Eagles fans out there, and I know you are, Nick, happy with how
Not
Goddard's
mad
turned
about it.
out. Happy he's not a divisional opponent twice a year. So Buffalo just did it again to Dallas, and they have a plan for Kincaid. He's gonna come in there and be that, dominant physical player that Josh Allen can rely on. And, I think he's going to sooner than later slip into that number 2 target for Josh Allen in that offense. And in tight end premium, those tight ends that have that potential just don't come around. There's a chance we see him elevate into that top tier sooner than later. And when you get guys like that don't come along often, it just puts you in such a positional advantage versus everyone else in your league. So, my theory is with Kincaid, my strategy with these tight ends is, get them and Kincaid has as good a shot as anyone we've seen lately, Pitts included, to really excel early and highly for his team. So I'm going Dalton Kincaid.
It's fair. It's a fair pick. With so much uncertainty, again at this part of the draft, assuming this is a tight end premium league in a pass happy offense that didn't really address wide receiver in free agency or the draft. Excuse me, they didn't address wide receiver. Yeah, I said it correctly. They didn't address wide receiver in free agency or the draft, but they got a pass catcher right in the draft in the form of Kincaid.
Right.
Yeah. So you figure the scoring upside, the touchdown upside in year one is going to be really strong. This makes sense to me. This pick makes sense to me. Crumply heads, you are on the clock. If you are in here, let me see. I'm going to resume this draft with about a minute to spare. It doesn't look like Crumply heads is in here at the very moment, but he is on the clock.
If he doesn't come in with like 30 seconds left, Nick, go ahead and make his pick for him, and then we'll just continue.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give him an opportunity here to make it. If you're not in here, Crumply heads, don't worry. It is just a rookie mock draft. I see the green light just popped on. Let's see if he gets in here and makes a pick. Crumply heads, let's see what happens here. What do we got for you? And yeah, apparently my audio is an echo. I apologize for that. I guess I'll have to look into this and figure out how to get it fixed, because I have earbuds in and all that good stuff. It should be working, but I'm sorry that it's not.
Crumply heads went with Chargers wide receiver Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, which I think this makes sense here. At this point, he was one pick after Jackson Smith and Jigba. It is a good landing spot. At least he gets Justin Herbert right as his quarterback. So I mean, you could do significantly worse than that. Keenan Allen is on the other side of 30 at this point and has battled injuries. Mike Williams is, I think he's 28, I think, at this point. So I mean, he's just slightly past that age apex, so to speak, for wide receivers. But I mean, he's still ultra talented. You don't worry about a drop off with a player like Mike Williams just yet. I would think Quentin Johnston and Mike Williams they're very similar from a physical perspective. Maybe not necessarily a play style perspective, but they're both bigger players, both bigger bodied. Williams, I guess, is a little bit more, I guess, is a little taller. But they're a little stockier, the two of them. With the rumors that Austin Eckler could be on the move, I don't know how likely that is now with the draft having come and gone, and with him being paid a decent salary. Just thinking about the potential targets that are available in this offense, there's, I guess, not a ton, given the fact that everybody's back from last season, and now you're adding Johnston to that mix. So there might not be a ton of work right away, but you don't draft a guy in the first round, in theory, not to use him, right? So there's opportunity here, year one, for Johnston. I'm not necessarily sure that actually comes to fruition until maybe year two. But I understand at this point, a late first, a wide receiver taken in the first round, the second wide receiver taken off the board overall, is worth the roll of the dice at this point.
Yeah, I think, well, here's the thing. Keenan Allen just turned 31. Mike Williams is turning 29 in October. So he's going to get an opportunity there as probably the wide receiver one for Justin Herbert in a matter of a couple years. And he is a type of player where the question with him is his, ball catching ability, which for a receiver, obviously very important. But you get the ball in his hands, the what he can do and what he did do with that TCU offense. I mean, he was the backbone of what allowed Duggan to really thrive as a quarterback and that whole team thrive and get all the way to the championship, beat Michigan in the semifinal. So Johnston was my number 2 wide receiver going into the draft. I know that's not the case for a lot of people, but that's where I had him. And honestly, I like the Chargers landing spot for him. That's probably and at that point we know that the receivers went all in a row and he was the second one to go. So LA picked him over Flowers, over Addison. They wanted the big body a lot. The other 2 guys a little more svelte as far as their frames go. Johnson, 6'2", I think 220 or 215. So he's gonna hold up better than them. And I like Johnston. But again, there's a question about him with his ability to actually catch the ball, which is just funny, like saying as a receiver that you like a guy, but that's the concern. So yeah, I don't have a problem with Johnston at this pick. But I mean, this is all kind of what I'm saying. I think you kind of see it in the chat too. It's just there's not a definitive, ranking here of these guys after the top 6. So that's these late firsts. It's really you got to just hit on the guy, get the guy that you want, and hopefully they hit. So Johnston, good opportunity to do so, and yeah, I like it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm fine with that roll of the dice. I'm gonna go back to the well at wide receiver with pick 111. With the last wide receiver taken in the first round in the NFL draft. I think at this point it's a don't overthink it type of pick, right? Take the guy with the capital, the guy who is left with the capital, so to speak. The landing spot, maybe not the most spectacular, but we feel good about the player. He took the pre-draft process seriously, having, bulked up, added 15, 20 pounds of muscle prior to the combine. Zay Flowers, it should be a good offense. Maybe not like the best from a landing spot perspective of a pass catcher, but he rose up the pre-draft process ranks pretty quickly. I saw some people on Twitter calling him landing spot proof. So as to suggest that it didn't matter where he ended up. Obviously, Baltimore has been more of a low-volume passing offense compared to some of the other offenses of the NFL in years past. But Greg Roman is out and Todd Monken is in. So it's possible that this offense opens up a little bit more. And so when your competition is Odell Beckham, who has been spectacular but is coming off of a significant injury, and Rashad Bateman, who has a lot of promise but is coming off of an injury. Again, you see the theme here. Zay Flowers is going to have an opportunity here, and an opportunity maybe sooner than even somebody like Johnston and possibly even Smith and Jigba. So at least to start, right? Not to finish, but at least to start. So at this point, I'll take the guy with the capital who is left on the board. And from that perspective, it feels like a somewhat easy pick taking Zay Flowers at 111.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it at all. You get Lamar signed to the extension. So he's got, I think, that offense now with him healthy. They got Dobbins healthy. Odell, I think we're going to see the Ravens offense really, really thrive. So, and part of this too, I think they're going to want to not let Lamar with that big contract now run quite as much as he was. He's still obviously going to. Lamar's going to Lamar, but he's gonna, I think we're gonna see his utilization as a rusher as far as attempts go, maybe go down slightly. And Zay Flowers gives a great shiftiness, quickness, can get separation. So a nice, short move the chains guy that can really help that offense just keep chugging along. So Definitely like Zay Flowers. He was my third receiver in this going into the draft. But again, you know, I mean, I'll talk up on Baltimore what his role will be, in my opinion, going in, but still not a home run landing spot for me as far as these players go. So that's again why I went 8 chain at 7. It's looking like that's not the consensus of a lot of people, but it is what it is. So Flowers makes sense. I mean, I can't go wrong with picking him at the end of the first.
All right. I feel
All
good
right.
about it at the 111. Who you got to finish off the first round?
So I'm between two guys here. I think I had one in mind, but because of the way the draft shook out, I'm going to stick with the same school that I did with my last pick. Or no, that I didn't do it the last pick. Sorry, Crumply Heads did. I'm going to go Kendre Miller, New Orleans running back for the 112. That, he got that day 2 draft capital ahead of all those other running backs outside of, the two we already drafted, and Gibbs and Bijan, and obviously the UCLA Charbonnet. He went early third rounds, pick 71 overall. We're gonna probably, as we assume, see Kamara suspended for some amount of games this year. So it's just going to be Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller for part of that. And I think Kendre Miller, another good solid piece for that TCU offense. Some good tape that he put out there. Yeah, I liked Kendre Miller going into the draft. But that draft capital, tells me that they have a plan for him again. They want to use him, and they're excuse me, they yeah, again, Kamara's future on the team may not be for much longer. So he's gonna get an opportunity to really show what he can do, and possibly earn the full-time role with the Saints, moving forward, assuming that Kamara at some point, I mean, he's getting older, so assuming at some point he's off New Orleans. So Kendre Miller's my pick.
There you go. Yeah, no, I think it's a smart move. I think it makes sense to grab the running back with the capital on what should be a good offense. In a situation where he could start leading that team in carries in the second half of the season, even when Kamara returns, because Kamara's bread and butter is not, toting the rock 25 times from the backfield,
Yeah.
as a handoff. So yeah, I think there's certain opportunity there as soon as this year.
Nick, is there any way to zoom out of the board on your screen? They're requesting to see if there's a way to see the entire thing.
Let me see, because I've been kind of just like, yeah. Let me see if I can zoom it out. I've kind of just been just kind of scrolling with it.
Yeah. I just read Notorious just commented about the full view. I just wondered if that was an easy fix.
Okay. Well,
If not, no big deal.
that frees up the board a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it like. I'll just keep it moving on my end.
Okay.
All right, we're into the second round. Trying to speed this up a little bit for you guys because I feel like most of the deliberation is going to come now, around this time. But actually, we'll go ahead and resume the draft. Mike is on the clock. Let's see what he's got in mind for the 201.
I don't see the time ticking down.
It should be.
Oh, okay. He drafted
There we go.
Jonathan Mingo. I love it.
Yeah? Why is that?
Yeah.
I'll pause it real quick before Anthony makes his pick.
So he was someone climbing up draft boards going into the draft. And, as I commented on the live stream during the draft on day 2, someone I was seeing doing a lot of top 30 visits with teams. He's got size. did some good things in college, and he got that, high second round draft capital, and he's going to have the opportunity because they got rid of DJ Moore. So what he was able to do at Ole Miss, and as we talked about too, Ole Miss is becoming a bit of a wide receiver U itself with some of the alumni they've had come out of there. DK Metcalf, Elijah Moore, AJ Brown, of course. We just been seeing some really strong wide receiver talent coming out of Ole Miss, and Mingo, I think, moves well for his size, 6'2", 225. This draft is just such a plethora of smaller bodied, smaller framed receivers. And so, Carolina said, let's go get a guy that has some size, can work with our young quarterback. I think we're going to see him really develop with the reps he's going to get with Bryce Young. Two rookies coming in the same year. I always like that. So, I like Mingo, and he's, definitely my fifth wide receiver. And I think he's closer to the two through four guys, Addison, Johnston, and Flowers. I think he's closer to them than any of them are close to JSN. So I like Mingo as a early second round pick for sure.
Averaged almost 16 yards a catch at
Hmm.
Ole Miss. That's pretty strong yards per route run. Um, Number finished with he only finished with 12 receiving touchdowns, but I mean, consider the fact that he only played 7 games as a freshman. He only played 6 games as a junior because of injury. Um, the advanced stats are there in his favor. It's just the profile looks a little strange. I believe Mingo the one where they had him move to tight end for part of the season because of an injury to the starter there. I feel like that might maybe happen to him. He had to move to tight end for either his sophomore or junior season, so it skewed his stats a little bit because he had to fill in for some injuries. Regardless, his athletic percentile is really strong. Um, the advanced data suggests that he should be, he has the chance to blossom into a really good player.
Yeah, I mean his production was,
Including this draft.
860 yards, 5 touchdowns senior year. So not out of this world production, but like you said, yeah, I mean, just what he put on tape, that that yards per catch, that 16.9, it's just so strong. So yeah, I like I said earlier, Mingo's the pick.
Anthony goes Rashawn Johnson up to the Chicago Bears with pick 202.
Wow. Interesting. I think he's reacting because he wanted Mingo. We know he, in another league, he took Terrace Marshall with a late first. So he likes those big bodied Carolina receivers. So I think he was probably hunting down Mingo and just got sniped by Mike there in the
This is
first
the
round.
settle. This is the settle for that. I
I'm
mean,
just kidding, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The I mean, the profile is there, and the landing spot is there as well. I mean, Khalil Herbert looks like a pretty good player. I mean, he is. Is he more of a satellite back? I feel like that's not unfair to say.
I listen, I don't hate Rashawn Johnson. I mean, the thing I will say is he was a fourth round pick, so you're now in day three, and we know that going from day two to day three for these running backs is definitely a drop off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that he was taken over some of these other guys still on the board. So and as far as the landing spot goes, they're all sort of similar. I said body types, I guess, like larger guys. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, and now him. Like, if you told me any one of those guys was the guy there, for this year, I'd believe you. I think it's really kind of a crowded backfield. Down the road, maybe not, and they like Rashawn Johnson, but and again, I don't hate the player. There's some guys still on the board that I would absolutely at running back specifically, I mean, take over him for sure. So not the pick I would have made, but if you like your guy, go get your guy. It just early second just seems it's a little rich for my taste, a little rich for my blood. What do you think?
I mean, I like the landing spot for Johnson. Um, there, scoring opportunities. We might need to be a little bit patient on that as the Bears' offense develops as a whole. Um, and he still is combating with Donta Foreman for touches. And Donta Foreman was decently productive on a bad Carolina Panthers team last year.
Mm-hmm.
So consider this, I guess, a bit of an upgrade. This Bears offense, so he might, be a little bit difficult to stave off for carries. And then, of course, you've got Herbert as the third down back. So, you're hoping for a three-headed monster. That doesn't even include Fields. I like Roschon Johnson's talent. It could be slim pickings in year one. But if Donta Foreman moves on in 2024, now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Yeah, he certainly there's a path you can draw up where it makes sense. But I just think there's less obstacles in the way and more talent going for other running backs left. So I'm not on board with him at 2-2 in this draft, but that's that's why we're doing this.
Real quick question in the chat, Joshua, if you're still in here, thanks for hanging on. As far as your trade question between, whether would we rather have ETN, Mike Williams, and the 205, or the 103 and the 105? To me, this is kind of straightforward. If you're a contender, I'll take the ETN side. If you are rebuilding, give me the 2 first-round picks, and you can take Gibbs and JSN or one of the quarterbacks and
He did say one quarterback, so keep that in mind.
it's one quarterback. So you're getting probably either JSN and either Flowers or Quentin Johnston, or ideally Gibbs and one of those receivers. But regardless, I like Smith and Jigba and one quarterback at the 103. 105, you're still going to potentially get a chance to get a guy like, you even could go a Dalton Kincaid that high if it's tight end premium. You could go Quentin Johnston or Zay Flowers, depending on your preference of landing spot and body of work and the quarterbacks that they're attached to. But I'll take the ETN side if I'm contending, if I'm competing this year.
Yeah, I would if I don't know which side that you're on, but if you are the ETN side looking to get the picks, trying to rebuild here, try to keep that 205 because I think you should be able to get it done just ETN and Williams straight up for those picks. And Williams, he's shown flashes, obviously. I think he's gonna have a solid year, but he's up and down. He's, like I said, turning 29. ETN just had another running back come in the room. I like ETN a lot. It's got the first round capital, got his college quarterback there, but 103 is kind of the last of that tier with, like we said earlier, Gibbs or you're going to get Gibbs or JSN with that pick, which is good. And then 105, you have a little more flexibility to get one of those players, that we're talking about 107 beyond in this super flex draft. So, yeah, try to hold on to that 205 though, if you can. But if you have the picks and you're contending, make the move because, ETN and Williams are definitely proven commodities, and you can certainly do something with them this year and hopefully go get that title.
I put you on the clock. Will, you are up.
Oh, am I up? I'm up. I'm up.
203.
All right. So I'm going to take the running back that I would have taken at Anthony's position here at 2-2. I'm gonna go grab Tajay Spears out of the Tennessee running back. He is a great talent. He got, in my opinion, a very good landing spot too, because Derrick Henry is 29. I believe he turns 30. What's his birthday? Is he turning 30 at the end of the season? So he'll be 29 for this year. Everyone talks about Henry, the cliff is coming, and eventually it will. He's putting on the carries, putting in the workload. The age is adding up. Tajay Spears is gonna, get to come in and follow suit right behind him. Now, not right away. Obviously, Henry's gonna be the bell cow unless he gets hurt. But the talent and the upcoming opportunity for Spears is huge. And what he put on tape was, like I said, just really, really, really good. And he also is he's going to be 22, so not crazy young. I mean, not old, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the landing spot a lot. I like the town. I love the draft capital. Give me Spears, and yeah, he's one of the main guys I was talking about over Rashawn Johnson, no question.
Uh, did you happen to see that there was a report? I think it came from Ian Rappaport that there's some concerning fallout from a medical perspective with Spears following the draft that indicated that he had arthritis in his knee.
Uh,
This came from Rappaport.
Let me find this
While
here.
while you're looking at that, and this
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of fell a little bit under the radar with Spears because it happened. This news came out just after the draft, but reportedly stemming from two torn ACLs as a result of the procedures that he has had to get him back onto the playing field. He essentially has no ACL left in his knee and
Yeah, I just saw that.
is potentially left with arthritis.
Interesting. And they're saying he could be a one contract player.
It could be a one contract player, and I hate this for the player, of course. You never want to
Right.
have to see this come across, but there is serious concern about how long Spears is actually going to last. I would love for him to prove that this is wrong and that he goes on to have an awesome career that spans a long time by running back metrics or otherwise. That being said, the first thing that comes to mind when you're combining arthritis and running backs is Todd Gurley, who was out of the league by the time he was 26 years old. And
Do you think that okay, so Todd Gurley though I mean, he's not Todd Gurley, but do
right,
you think we can see him have strong success early and, just keeping that in mind, probably find a trade partner before the end of that first contract, before any of this arthritis and knee deterioration that maybe we're forecasting here shows up. I the Titans seem to have known about the knee going into the draft, and it seems that that's why Spears fell to the third round. So the talent to me is just there, and they probably just got a great value in terms of talent. And the question about health is obviously a concern, but he already that's already built into his NFL draft capital. So it almost makes me say, hey, let me just put a little note on this player, trade high after he goes off before the end of that first contract. So, or right at the end of that first contract. So yeah, maybe there's a safer player there. I didn't see that until just now, so I am kind of off the cuff right now going with it, but I still like the talent. You I think you can just be a little I don't want to say shifty, but a little little smart about how you just look at that asset and the potential dip,
yeah, I think you do
if
have to
that's
be
the case.
careful here because I understand the intrigue early, but I would be concerned long term. So this is probably he'd be down my board a little bit. He's more of a late second round pick for me. And if it's a scenario where I'm taking him in the late second because it's like, well, at this point it makes sense, I'm hoping he performs decently well sooner than rather than later. There's a potential opportunity for him to resume an expanded role, and you maximize on that and move him to another team in your league. Um, it sucks that this is the development, but this is the news that we have, and the only thing we can do is act and react on it. And so for me, that would push Spears down my board. If I'm in a scenario where I'm drafting him, it's maybe more like the 208, 209, maybe even a little bit closer to the end of the second round, which is probably not going to play out. Um, but if it does, you take him. You hope he performs well, and you can flip him for a little bit more than the capital you spent on him after year one, and then those concerns are no longer yours as far as his long-term future in the league. Hopefully, it works out for him. Arthritis for a running back, though, if this is confirmed and true, which again it came from the NFL Network, is never good. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it moving. AG, thanks for coming in and hanging out. Have a good evening. I know we're taking our time on the analysis of these picks. Hopefully it's helpful. Obviously it's a little lengthy, but hopefully this is going to be helpful for you guys moving forward. We're only going through round 4. I know you see rounds 5, 6, 7, 8. We're not going that long. It's just through round 4. So rest assured, this is not a marathon stream, but hopefully the expanded analysis helps you guys a little bit. We'll go ahead and keep this moving. At 2:04, this is my turn to make a call. Now we're kind of at the point where we're taking a shot on some guys, right? We're taking a chance on some guys who were drafted a little bit later in day 2. So I'm gonna take a guy who was drafted early on day 2, where there's some stability with the position, and that's quarterback. And it's not exciting, it's not thrilling. I'm not even exactly sure how enthusiastic I am about the pick, but I believe in the strategy of when you are in a scenario to take a chance on a quarterback in Superflex, just take the chance. This team 4 is commandeering that I kind of have right now. I guess they already have CJ Stroud, so I could pivot if I wanted to, but just in a vacuum.
Yeah, I would do it in a vacuum.
In a vacuum, I'm gonna take Will Levis here. And regardless of this is the same team, it's just what I would do at this pick if I felt like I needed to take a shot on a quarterback in Superflex. The path to playing time for Will Levis is not far away. Ryan Tannehill is older. I think he gets a little too much blame for how poorly Tennessee played on offense last year. It was a bad offensive line. It was a razor thin receiver core. It was hard to find success in that offense anywhere at any point. So I won't hold it too much against him. That being said, he is 33 years old and not one of the upper echelon elite quarterbacks in the league. He is ultimately replaceable if the Titans feel like they need to go to that situation sooner rather than later. I'll take a chance on a quarterback taken early day 2.
Yeah, no, I think Levis actually fell a little bit here. As far as where I have him ranked, I'm taking him, early second. You get about a 20% hit rate on quarterbacks drafted outside the top. I think it's 10 or 15 all the way into the second round. Like it's pretty similar. Those late first to the early second quarterbacks as far as their hit rate goes. So I like it. I mean, the path is there for him to be the guy. Maybe I don't know if he starts right away, but it's definitely not going to be very long before he does. I think he'll definitely get start this year. And Tennessee went up and got him, right? They traded up. They said, give us Will Levis. For some people, he was at least talked about in the first round. I think maybe that was a little bit of smoke. But he certainly has we saw it in his junior year, just his ability to, play the quarterback position was very, very solid, very strong. Take the chance, the roll of the dice on hitting with one of these quarterbacks, a guy with early second round capital. You can't deny that. You gotta take your shots when you have that opportunity. So yeah, Will Levis is definitely the pick here for me.
There you go. What are you doing at 205?
205. Let me see my updated board here a little bit. I think I'm going to continue with the tight end premium theme we got going here. I'm going to go ahead and grab Sam Laporta out of, or wait, no, scratch that. Luke Musgrave to the Packers.
Wow, that's even more
Yeah,
of a
yeah. Luke Musgrave to me is a very, very strong potential, high ceiling pass catching weapon. And Green Bay, they drafted a couple tight ends here. I know another receiver, but Musgrave was my number two tight ends for fantasy coming into the draft, and I like the landing spot. I think he's going to get opportunity to do something in Green Bay. First pass catcher they took, wanted to give Jordan Love some more weapons, and they just extended Love. So I feel like they have some confidence in him moving forward with him as their quarterback. So yeah, let's go ahead and grab Musgrave and
wow,
just take a shot on hitting on a tight end premium player.
wow. Over Michael Mayer, over Sam Laporta, who a lot of people liked in the pre-draft process.
Yeah, I like Musgrave over both of them. I didn't dislike those guys, but I think Musgrave has a higher ceiling. And when I'm taking tight end, I want to hit on a ceiling because otherwise they're just going to fall into that that sort of cluster of guys that are, anywhere from tight end 6 to tight end, 16. It's a
Yeah,
very
sure.
similar range.
Just
So
take the
give
ceiling
me
play.
give me a shot. Give me a shot at a guy with more ceiling. Mayer to me, maybe a more complete tight end. And helps in the run game. We can talk about him when he gets drafted, but I'm gonna take a shot on the upside with Musgrave.
I mean, he's 6'6", 250 pounds. So he's got the build, he's got the makeup. Um, athletic profile is really strong. You like that for a tight end for sure. And
Yeah.
the opportunities are wide open in the offense. So, yeah, I can understand.
Um, and yeah, Nick, what are you doing here at 206?
So this feels kind of gross, but I'm gonna go off of a guy that I think from a talent perspective, we don't love what happened in the draft, but I think we can acknowledge the talent of the prospect. We hate that Zach Charbonnet went to Seattle. We hate that he's going to be splitting the backfield with another young player with high capital in Kenneth Walker. But I am going to go Zach Charbonnet here. As recently as 10 days ago, he was being mocked to the 107 spot or the 108 pick, depending on need. Um, Unknowingly that he'd end up in potentially the worst landing spot he could, or at least one of them. That being said, there comes a point, obviously, in the draft where you kind of just got you're gonna swallow that potential headache and bank on the talent. And for me, I think we've reached that point with Charbonnet. He was still a day two pick as expected. Not a great landing spot, but the profile suggests that he has what it takes to be a three down back. Um, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can, he can contribute in a variety of ways for the offense. It's a Pete Carroll led offense, so it's going to be bread and butter run first. Obviously, that spells positive things for Kenneth Walker, but remember, Walker was on the injury report last year a lot. And this is coming from somebody who I really like Kenneth Walker. I like him as a player. I like him moving forward, or I have liked his potential future in this league. I think he was on the injury report like 6 or 7 times this past season. Now, some of that he played, some of it he didn't. Uh, so, you know, whether it was going to be Rashad Penny or somebody else, Kenneth Walker was always going to have backfield competition in an offense led by Pete Carroll. So I'll bet on the talent here, even though it's kind of a gross pick. I'm gonna go Charbonnet.
Yeah. Charbonnet was my number three running back going into the draft, but just tanked
Sure.
value by, you know, the landing spot. I think it's a good pick for Seattle as a football team. They're going to keep both guys healthy. Not, Walker doesn't have to carry that backfield all by himself. Obviously, he's a fantasy owner of Walker. You would, I mean, not one myself, but anyone who is, you're obviously heartbroken by that pick because it's just they're going to cannibalize each other. And someone who was high on Charbonnet, probably was looking at drafting him where I took A-Chain if he went, somewhere else. But it's hard to see a path for either of these guys. They're both young, 1 year apart from each other, both second round picks. I just think it's going to be, a two-headed committee here, and you also got a strong passing attack. So yeah, Seattle's offense I think is going to be really good again. Gives Geno Smith another weapon. Charbonnet may fill, like you said, that pass catching role and goal line role, with Kenneth Walker being more between the 20s. But yeah, I mean, this is probably where I would be looking at taking him as well. Just disappointing that he ended up where he did, and
Sure.
we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, I don't hate the pick. I just talking in this tone because I just hate what happened to Charbonnet.
Yeah, and you hate the landing spot, right? But I'll take a chance on the talent. What are we doing at 2-7?
2-7. Let's see here. I think I'm going to. Oh, man, I think I'm gonna go with. This is tough. Do I just go with the other back here? I might grow. I think I'm gonna go grab the last running back that had day two capital. Grab Tank Bigsby, Jacksonville,
Okay.
out of Auburn. You know, he not the greatest landing spot, but another talent that I really liked going in. I think there's a significant tier break after, it's for me, Bijan break, Gibbs break, and then A-Chain, Miller, Spears, Charbonnet, and Bigsby are all sort of grouped together. And I just like A-Chain's landing spot a lot. The draft capital for Miller and the landing spot's good. Spears, we'll see how the knee goes. But yeah, Tank Bigsby kind of falls into that Charbonnet thing where it's like, all right, like they already had ETN, but I think the difference being that ETN seemed to already be kind of decided he wasn't going to be a bell cow, where I think Walker, people thought he was going to. So it's a little easier to see what Bigsby's role is going to be in this offense. And I think we're going to see, him spell ETN a little bit, and really, get that more brute, like, goal line scoring opportunity type role. And at this point we're into the mid twos. I think we're kind of seeing that this draft class is just really not as strong as everyone was talking like it was going to be coming out of 2021. There's just so many question marks with these running backs and receivers that are left here, and you're just kind of trying to take a guy that has a chance. And I think draft capital is one of the safest ways, at least for the running back position, to establish that and realize that. So, and succeed off of it. So yeah, I'll take Bigsby. I'll take the last of the day two or better running backs on the board, and just cross my fingers and hope for the best out of him, knowing that he's got that capital.
Makes sense. Um, for pick
Or
208, I'm a little torn here. On one hand, there is a wide receiver here that I really like, and a guy that I have been a little bullish on as soon as he became a day two pick in Marvin Mims. But I do think I'm gonna lean into the tight end premium here and take a chance on Michael Mayer. At this point, he was the 35th overall pick, so he was damn near a first round pick, just didn't quite make the mark. on an offense that just traded their starting tight end. So opportunity is everything here, and Mayer's going to have it as soon as year one. They'll probably ease him in, right? As a rookie tight end, you generally expect a steep learning curve for these guys. It's a difficult position to play at the NFL level. Um, with Devontae Adams, they signed Jacoby Myers. They still have Hunter Renfrow. They have one of the best running backs, one of the best pure runner running backs in the NFL, and Josh Jacobs in the backfield. This is an offense that should find at least some level of success, even with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. And if there's short fields and scoring opportunities, that's where the tight end just kind of organically comes into play. Uh, that and then on top of that, the guy that they did sign in free agency, Austin Hooper, no disrespect, but Austin Hooper doesn't really give you that much as a run blocker or as a pass catcher. So
Hmm.
Mayer, I think, already grades better than him, and obviously we're comparing a bit apples to oranges here when talking about the college game compared to the NFL game. But by all accounts, Mayer, the metrics are in his favor. The blocking grades and the pass catching grades are in his favor. They spent, again, nearly a first round pick on him. They have a plan for him clearly. In tight end premium, I'm going to take one of the last options available to you with significant capital invested in the player, who was generally considered the consensus tight end one by however metric you wanted to spin it going into the draft.
Yeah, no, I mean the Raiders are a great landing spot for a tight end as well, and yeah, he was definitely by some considered the tight end one. Did great at Notre Dame. Only knock against him for me is I just don't think he has the ceiling that a Kincaid or a Musgrave have, especially Kincaid. So that's why he's lower on my board than those guys. So yeah, I don't have a problem with the pick at all. I think, as far as landing spot go and draft capital, you can't be upset about it. So solid pick.
Appreciate it. Let's move to pick 209.
All right. I am going to stick with the tight end theme we got going here and just kind of, close it out with the other tight end that I think is, got a great landing spot, great offense, very good draft capital, went before Michael Mayer, and I'm going to get Sam Laporta for the Lions. He is, coming in, taking the role that Hawkinson had, which I think Hawkinson, the Lions didn't exactly know what to do with him. And maybe that's something you're a little nervous about because, do they have a scheme that's great for tight end, which is why, even though he went before Musgrave, I still have Musgrave ahead of him because I just feel safer with what Green Bay is going to do with him. But you can't deny the success of the Lions offense this last year. I think Goff is going to continue to strive. They have a great O-line. Laporta, high second draft capital. So drafted with intention. Give me Sam Laporta from in Detroit and at a late second round pick and tight end premium, every day of the week.
Let me slot this in. There we go. Yeah, I mean, he's a little on the smaller side. He's 6'3". The weight, from a weight perspective, he's not. He's about 245 pounds. He's a smidge on the smaller side from a height perspective, but incredibly athletic, plus speed at the position. Um, by all accounts, the pass catching profile has a stellar ceiling, and yeah, I mean, with the same thought process for Mayer can be applied to Laporta, like you just alluded to. Hawkinson was shipped. Now they've replaced him with Laporta in an offense that's going to be missing Jameson Williams for the first 6 games. Maybe I don't buy into that narrative so much just because you're talking about a rookie tight end and it's just the first 6 games of his career, but there will be a bit of an opportunity to get off on a strong start early for Laporta, with them down a key weapon in their passing offense to start the season. the longevity is it potential is there. I don't know necessarily about if we feel the same about Jared Goff, but um, that I guess leaves a little bit of doubt for just the Detroit offense as a whole in general. But they spent significant capital in him. It went over Mayer. I just got done talking about Mayer was the 35th pick in the draft. Laporta was the 34th. So I mean, the belief is there. The plan from the team for him is there. We'll see how he develops, but
Cool.
should offer some valuable pass catching upside.
All right, Crumply Heads. What do you got for us at 210?
Let's see. Let me pause this. And thanks for sticking with us, guys. I know it's on the later side for our East Coast friends and even our Central Time Zone friends. But Crumply Heads, you are on the clock. I know the timer doesn't look like it has started, but I promise it has. Keep this moving. Is it moving?
I don't see the timer ticking down. I don't know if he's in. So we'll see a pick here soon, I think.
Yeah, it should be moving. If you refresh, it's moving. I see 122. There we go.
Well, wow, Chase Brown.
Chase Brown. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Nick, do you want to go, or I got stuff to say if you don't. So
I mean, it's a 5th round pick, right? So day 3 capital. So we're really going down the board on there, which is fine. Joe Mixon is still on the team. And so I guess that's kind of where I start and end this for me. Obviously, his time in the league is probably closer to the end than it is to the beginning. That's not necessarily to say he's going to be out of the league next year, but we know the trend with starting running backs, right? They eventually fall off that proverbial cliff. As of right now, Mixon is on the team and will be the starter. It doesn't look like that's changing, even though there was some speculation this offseason that he could be released. He could be a cap casualty. Those whispers have kind of died down. The team still has Captain America, Chris Evans. It still has Trevion Williams, and now they add Brown to that mix. So to me, it feels like they're going to ride with Mixon for one more year, and it's kind of like a hodgepodge of guys to spell him, whether it's one of those 3 guys. Hard to say when a team picks a player as this late what specifically they have in mind for him beyond a change of pace role. So at the 210, I don't know I would have gone here. I might have opted for another wide receiver. You might think here at this point that Mixon isn't long for the team. Maybe that's the thought process here. I probably wouldn't go Brown this high, just considering 5th round pick.
Yeah, it's definitely so. Here's where I'm at. I like the player. Now draft capital, fifth round pick. So you got to take that into consideration, no question. But I like the player going into the draft. He was a huge reason. He was such a high percentage of like a dominator rating for Illinois because he just was basically that offense, just the production level. And then going to the combine, you just see his athletic measurables really show up, just so explosive, fast. I mean, outside of Richardson and Darnell Washington, just like the stud at the combine with his measurables. But yeah, 5th round draft capital. The landing spot I don't dislike because even though Mixon will be there, still it looks like this year. I don't know how much longer he'll still be on that team. I don't think Cincinnati's looking to continue to pay him the contract that he could fetch on the open market. So, we could see a situation where I can see the path where Chase Brown gets an opportunity. for this team, and we obviously know that offense is very high octane, high powered. So this is definitely a roll the dice. I agree with you, Nick. Late second is probably too early for him, in my opinion. The one big knock against his game was pass protection. He definitely did not thrive in that aspect, and of course, as we know, if Joe Burrow is your quarterback, you not I mean, just from a talent perspective, you want to be able to let him sling the ball. So you want a running back that's going to be getting in there, chipping the rusher, and providing that factor into the offense. So Chase Brown, I like the rushing talent. I like what he did at Illinois outside the pass protection. Don't love the draft capital landing spot. I actually do kind of like. So I will be targeting Brown most likely later in drafts in any opportunity I get, but early or late second is just a little too high for me. So, but yeah, I
Yeah,
like the player.
and to that point, the guy that I maybe would have taken several spots earlier is available to me now at the 211, and I'm just going to go ahead and lock in Marvin Mims, my guy this draft. Um, and I know that I'm not alone in liking Mims in the dynasty community. There's plenty of people in the fantasy circles that like Mims or are intrigued by Mims. But he ends up a day 2 pick to the Denver Broncos in a Sean Payton led offense. So of course we're hoping for a bit of a renaissance from Russell Wilson for this to come to fruition, but crazier things have happened. There's been rumors throughout the offseason that Denver was looking to ship one of their starters, whether it was Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy. Probably Cortland Sutton, but they never actually specified. They go ahead and make Mims a day 2 pick. Burst onto the scene as a freshman. He caught, I think, 9 touchdowns as a freshman. Sophomore season production slipped. That was the year that Spencer Rattler, the play, started to fall off at Oklahoma, and then he was usurped by Caleb Williams, who steadied the ship. But ultimately, the quarterback, there was a bit of upheaval that year at the quarterback position for the Sooners, and so naturally the passing game as a whole, ipso facto the wide receivers, the trickle down effect was there. But he bounced back nicely as a junior, finished with 1,000 yards receiving, showed well at the combine. I do think Mims is an intriguing athletic profile. At this point, there's only so much you could say. We're starting to get into the latter stages of the draft, and some of these guys, it's going to be at this point just kind of pick who you like plus draft capital equals that's your pick. For me at this point, it's Mims.
Yeah. Nick, how do you want to go one more round? I don't think we need to go 4. Just like we're already a
Sure.
good bit into this, and
About 2
I'd
hours
be
in. Yeah, we could
yeah.
do.
Do you want
We'll do
do
a
you want to
rapid
do
fire.
3?
I will keep the draft unpaused. So you have 2 minutes to make the pick, and then that's it.
Easy. All right. So let's see here. The 212. Okay. I want to say the 224. It was throwing me off there. I'm gonna, with it being super flex, I'm gonna grab Hendon Hooker. I think with the Lions, he probably fell to the Lions, and I think they do like Jared Goff, but we could see a scenario where Goff maybe doesn't keep it up for too long. Hooker has a few years to develop under him, and they have a great O-line there. By the time he is starting, the team may look different, but I like the culture Dan Campbell's building there. They certainly showed offensive capability on that team. Great, top O-line, top 3 in the league, offensive line. So Hendon Hooker, I think, has a shot to do something. A little bit older, obviously, of a prospect, which is why he went to the 3rd. But it's super flex, and if you can hit on a quarterback, that is invaluable. It's huge. It's striking gold for your team. So
Yep.
I think it's worth taking a shot on Hooker versus a shot on any of these other players that honestly I don't feel over the moon strong about. So give me Hendon Hooker.
There you go. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that roll of the dice.
All right, Mike, what are you doing here?
All right, this is going to be the last round. We're going to rapid fire this guy, and that is to say, I'm going to resume the draft, and I am not pausing it from here on out. We're going to get our thoughts in a timely order, and we're going to get you
Yep.
guys out of here ideally at the bottom of the hour. Appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out with us. I'm going to be live on the earlier side tomorrow, maybe 6 p.m. Eastern, for another mock draft to make sure that we get another one in for you guys. Appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. Little late night crew. Let's finish off this last round. We'll go to 312, and then we will call it an evening. Mike, you are on the clock. Starting now. And he goes
Abanikanda.
I love it. I love that pick.
Abanikanda.
I hate the landing spot, but I love the pick. I really like the talent. I want to believe in Izzy. Day 3 back, going up against Breece Hall, and to a lesser extent, Michael Carter. So there's lots of competition in this offense, but for at least 1 year, he's going to have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. In the event that Breece is slow coming back, Izzy's going to have an opportunity to do some stuff early on this year.
Yeah, I think with Izzy, we're in the 3rd round now, so I don't have a problem with it. I think he's a tier below. I think he's more in that Roshan Johnson tier for me. So I like the player. Landing spot, not great, not awful, but draft Izzy. See if Breece maybe isn't quite 100% yet, and you can get something. And then honestly, the play for me is to try to trade him for maybe a 2nd rounder next year to the Breece Hall owner, and just be like, hey, here's the clear handcuff guy behind Hall. Like, hopefully he gets some good run early in the season. But Breece Hall is the guy in New York, so it's hard. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers there, it certainly like elevates that offense to definitely, potentially a higher octane situation than we saw last year between Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Flacco. So as far as the team goes, good. But with Breece Hall in front of him, and his injury definitely different than Javonte Williams.
Yeah,
so I think Hall we're going to see him come back earlier for sure. So I could see Izzy doing something early a little bit, like flashes, but this is we're throwing darts here. At this point, Izzy's as good of a pick as anyone you can get in the 3rd. So I don't hate it.
I'm taking Cedric Tillman in AG's stead at the 3-2.
Nice.
Thought about going Rashee Rice there, but I can't get behind Rice. It felt like a reach that the Chiefs made that pick, so I don't necessarily want to make that pick. I like Tillman's profile. The Browns made him a day 2 pick, 74th overall. He's got the size that lots of receivers in this draft are missing, 6'3", 213 pounds. Could be a big play threat in an offense where the wide receiver 2 job is very much up for grabs.
My only concern is that the Chiefs, they've been trying to draft wide receiver for a few years now, and ever since Tyreek Hill, they haven't hit on it. So Is this just another one of those guys? I think Tony's going to be a piece for them that, that's more involved. Kelsey's obviously the number 1. So, I mean, I guess you're rolling the dice and it's the Chiefs, but I wouldn't be, jumping into this assuming like, 2nd round. Like, it's just, Andy Reid just doesn't adapt the rookies into the offense at receiver early. So
with 40 seconds on the clock, does that mean you're not taking Rice here?
I thought you took Rice. I'm sorry.
No, I took Tillman.
You were talking about. I was talking about Rice. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. No, I'm not taking Rice.
Okay.
I marked. Oh my gosh, I just wasted a lot of time. I apologize. No, I definitely am not taking Rice. I am taking. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take Nathaniel Dell.
Okay.
Houston, small receiver. Let me go grab him here before this time runs out. Where is he? Tank Dell. Yeah, very explosive. Great separation. I think he'll be a player that CJ Stroud can, really develop that relationship with, similar to Mingo in Carolina with Young. So give me Tank Dell in the 3rd. I love that value.
There you go.
Who you getting at the 3-4?
Who do I want here? I might just go chalk here. I'll take Josh Downs just based on the draft capital. He's a day 2 pick. It's a favorable landing spot, right? I mean, the wide receiver 2 position is very much up for grabs in this offense. Alec Pierce showed flashes last year. I think he was around the 50th or 55th or 3rd pick or something like that in last year's draft. So he's
Hmm.
got the capital on downs by about 20 spots, but they thought enough of him to make him a day 2 pick. This offense is getting revamped with Anthony Richardson. If he progresses and hits his ceiling, that means the passing offense is going to be just fine. I'll take Downs as a speculative add on what hopefully is an ascending offense.
Nice. Yeah. No, I don't hate it at all. And like we said, Steichen's going to have that offense going. My next pick, I'm going to go ahead and grab. Um, I guess I'll get Jaden Reed.
Okay.
Packers. I think he's second day 2 pick. They want to add pass catchers for Jordan Love because Aaron Rodgers took them all away to New York with him. Um, so you got Watson there. I think he's probably in a similar role to Dubs, but Dubs is more downfield to me. So I think Hyatt has a role there, and I think we're gonna potentially, yeah. I mean, like day 2, second rounds, like this is mostly a draft capital play, and I didn't hate the player either. So give me Dubs or give me
Give you
give me
Reed.
Reed. Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah,
Dubs was last year, but it's okay. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, there should be opportunities abound
for
in the
sure.
Green Bay offense this year. We'll see if the quarterback play is up to snuff.
Yep.
Um, I don't love this at all, but this is where I would take Rishi
Okay.
Rice. It's not my favorite. I can't even sit here and say that I'm like super in love with this pick. I might actually be even looking to, if somebody does like Rice because they get the googly eyes because he got attached to the Kansas City offense. Maybe see if you can flip this pick and maybe something else. Like take this third and maybe another third and another fourth and see if you can flip it into a future second round pick, something like that. Might be a
Yeah.
fool's dream, but or a fool, maybe fool's gold, but like the worst thing that can happen is the person says no, right?
A
Um,
fool's errand, perhaps.
sure, yeah, yeah, give it a shot.
Cool. Cool.
So I'll take Rice here. The landing spot is good. The draft capital is strong. By all accounts, this was a reach by the Chiefs, and it feels like a reach by the dynasty community. But we'll take the day 2 capital, and at this point in the draft, hope for the best.
I don't think he's going to last to this point in a lot of dynasty leagues because I do think you're going to have somebody that's going, oh, Patrick Mahomes,
Right.
Chiefs,
Yeah.
second rounds. I think he's probably going to go mid to late second, I would guess, in
He might
most
go
of
higher than this. Yeah.
yeah. So just avoid him there. If he falls to the third, I don't have a problem with taking a dart throw.
Sure.
Okay, next pick for me. Yeah, I'm gonna go stick to the theme here. I'm gonna go Jalen Hyatt. Definitely I guess fell to where some people thought he might go late first, even early second. He fits a role that the Giants already have a lot of. But Blitnikoff Award winner, day 2 pick. You were in the third round at this point. I think he has holes in his game, but I do like I do think New York is on the up and up a little bit. So yeah, I'm fine with Hyatt at that spot. So
There you go. At the 308, again, we're kind of just, you've already alluded to it, Will. We're kind of just firing darts at this point.
yeah.
Um, just, I guess, arbitrarily looking at Team 8. Uh, excuse me. You've got Jordan Addison. You've got Michael Mayer. I'll go ahead and shake things up a little bit and diversify this a bit. I will go running back, and this might feel like a little bit of a reach because he was a 6th round pick, but the Cowboys' backfield has an opportunity available in it with the departure of Ezekiel Elliott. So I'll take a shot on Deuce Vaughn. You know, he's a guy who he's not gonna supplant Tony Pollard or maybe even Malik Davis in any way, and he is on the smaller side. Um, but if he can, we'll see if he can carve out a role of any kind. It might be more of a, special teamer at this point, to be completely
Yeah.
honest, given that he is so small. But I mean, again, we're firing darts at this point. There is, however you want to slice it, an opportunity in the Cowboys' backfield, and we expect it to be a good offense. I'll take
Yeah.
a random shot.
Yeah, he's off my board pretty much just because of the size. I mean, if you think A
Yeah,
Chain's small, this guy is a midget. So,
he's little.
yeah, very very small. Cool video of his dad getting to call him on draft
Very
day
cool.
and tell him come to work with me on Monday.
Yeah,
So
that was
really
pretty
like to see
awesome.
that. But I can't see him being a major part of this offense. Like you said, maybe more special teams, but or just a specialized role. So
Sure.
yeah, but dart throw, that's fine. Not a guy I'm gonna put any draft capital into. I'm actually gonna are we yeah, I got a pick here and then it's crumply heads.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with a guy that went even later than that.
Okay.
But I kind of like this guy in the draft, not as much as some people, but I'm gonna kind of I think he fell into their lap a little bit, and with the uncertainty with Dalvin Cook's future, I'm gonna take a dart throw on Dwayne McBride.
Okay.
Not much of a pass catcher, ran the ball really well, big body, running back, ran hard, ran tough, ran strong, and that offense is good with Cousins, the receivers. So definitely potential scoring opportunities. If Cook's gone, and it's just Madison in front of him. I could see you're one injury away with Madison to a guy that's getting starting opportunities on a good offense. So as far as a third round pick go, like give me that dart throw, give me that shot. Good as anyone, in my opinion.
Here you go. Crumbly Heads is on the clock. Appreciate you staying up late with us, Crumbly Heads. If you're here to make your final pick, whatever you want to do over these next 80 seconds or so, 75 seconds or so, we'll talk about it. I will make pick 311. Will bring us home with pick 312, and that'll be a wrap. I'll make sure to timestamp these picks so that you can see each pick analysis as it unfolds, because we did pause this draft to kind of extend it a little bit. So you'll get an opportunity to hear each pick that we make or that was made with a little bit more guidance in the video. So appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. So Crumbly Heads goes with Evan Hall, who got drafted to the Colts. I
Yep.
believe was he a sixth rounder?
Yes.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Evan Hall as I make my selection?
Evan Hall. Oh, you know what? No, sorry, he was a fifth rounder. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm in the late rounds, like late third, fourth. I think you have a better shot at hitting on something with these running backs versus the late wide receivers. So I'm taking a shot on a guy getting a good backup role. Becomes a handcuff. You see that all the time, right? Where a player goes down and his backup all of a sudden has great value. And in Dynasty, you're not having access to waivers because everyone's own that's worth their weight in anything. So give me Evan Hull on the Colts. As far as a flyer, it's as good as anyone. Probably going to end up, I would assume, being the number 2 to Jonathan Taylor. I haven't looked at that depth chart yet after the draft. Who did that trade happen though? Who went there from Buffalo?
Zach Moss could be,
Zach
maybe.
Moss. Yeah, maybe not then. I mean, it's a crapshoot, honestly, at this point with the running backs, but solid talent. Was he out of was he north? He wasn't the Northwest. Yeah, Northwestern. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I like this guy.
there you go.
All right, who
Real
you got?
quick, with 15 seconds left, I'm going to roll a dice on Tyler Scott, the Bears' fourth round pick.
Okay.
And this is just, I'll make this quick because we're at the last pick of the draft. Will, it's just an opportunity thing, right? I mean, he offers an element of speed to the Bears' offense. Justin Fields proved last year he can, in fact, sling it downfield. Thanks for nothing, Matt Nagy. So he'll be an alternate to Darnell Mooney from a speed perspective. DJ Moore is the wide receiver 1 there. You figure Mooney's the wide receiver 2. He'll probably slot in behind Chase Claypool, who is the wide receiver 3. But I mean, again, Darnell Mooney had a terrible season last year, and Chase Claypool, for as athletically awesome as he is, feels like he's falling out of favor just from an NFL perspective in general. There's an opportunity here for Scott in an ascending offense, and so that's where I'll take that dart throw.
Solid. All right, to wrap this up, I'm going to go with Michael Wilson, Cardinals receiver. Guy that didn't, if you look at his stat lines, not the strongest, but the last 3 years in college, played 4 games, 4 games, 6 games. He was just hurt all the time. But that last year in 6 games had 16 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns, 418 yards. He got that. He has the talent. The guy is, legitimate size. He varies his releases, which you love to see. And I think we would have seen him go higher if not for the injury. So let's hope his health is in good standing. Good movement skills as well. So yeah, like a draft that lacks receivers in any sort of size and physicality. I give me a guy that has it and got some solid capital. I think he went in the 3rd round too. 3rd round, 94th overall to Arizona. We did see Hopkins stay, but I don't think he's there much longer. So could turn into something again, dart throw. We'll see what happens.
Yep. Future pick for sure.
Yeah.
But with certainly with some upside. We're gonna call it there. It did get a little bit late, and we spent some decent time dissecting each pick. So we appreciate everybody who stuck it out with us. Who, whether you joined the draft or whether you were just coming in and hanging out with us, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate the discourse, the dialogue in the chat, the comments, and anybody who was able to come in and draft with us. Again, I will timestamp these picks so you can get some real-time analysis, some lengthy analysis on the thought process here, as we also help the computer make picks as well from the perspective of what we would do if we had those picks ourselves. Any last thoughts, Will, other than us just kind of shutting this down?
No, I mean, just reiterate what I said. I think when you get into those, 2nd, 3rd, late, like it just becomes a bit of a mess. And so anything you can, if you're a contender, try to trade picks for proven assets as best you can. But if not, just, try just take shots on guys with opportunities, as you see. I think there are some people will show up that we didn't predict, that the community didn't predict. So just try to think about who is an opportunity, who you can see a path to really get on the field and put up some numbers, and hopefully we gave you some insight into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be back tomorrow for one more rookie mock draft. Well, not one more, just another rookie mock draft tomorrow on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that. Appreciate everybody coming in with the hanging out with the late night crew. Again, hopefully this was insightful. Hopefully this was helpful. Join the Discord if you're not a part of it already. If your rookie draft is coming up, we can talk through some of the thought processes with you, whether it's this week or later this offseason. Happy to talk shop and get you guys ready for your Dynasty rookie drafts. That'll do it for us tonight. Again, thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out with us.